Hello everybody, my name's Andy. Welcome to my little bus. I got this thing about 5 years ago. I'm a writer, recently published my first novel. The idea was, I had someone tell me once, Andy, you should get a little school bus, convert it to a tiny house and take yourself on a book tour. And I'm like, yeah, haha, I'm gonna live in a school bus. A few years go by and that idea is starting to play with my head after watching 100 YouTube videos of other people who had done schoolies. By the time I saw a wood stove in one, I said, okay, that's it, I'm doing it. After a few years of some hard work, this is it so far. It's not done quite yet, but let's take a tour. This is a 1987 GMC Vandura 3500. Found it on, it was either eBay or Craigslist. Found it a few miles from here. It was a church bus. See, I'm not done with the outside yet. It had 52,000 miles. It was a 1987 6.2 liter, 8-cylinder diesel. Let's take a look around here. Under here, we've got my propane tank for my stove, and all done by Charlie and Ben at Chrome Yellow. This is a vent for my Nature's Head composting toilet. Just helps to keep any smell from inside the bus. Well, I can't wait to get this yellow gone, but that's coming. I'm gonna either paint it or do a vinyl wrap. Everybody compliments me on the industrial look of the outside of the bus, and I'm like, you should see the inside of the bus. Probably gonna do either brushed steel look, kind of like the Mandalorian's Razor Crest ship. Basically just Mad Max the shit out of it. Let's take a walk around, shall we? And this little vent right here was for when I had basically 4 golf cart batteries in here. That was what was charging my conversion, and this was the vent for that. I've since replaced those with 1 lithium battery, so I don't really need that anymore. I might either take it off or plug it. This is my dirty water heater. That's where it vents us to the outside. This is where I add my water. This is where I plug into shore power. This is where the stop sign used to be. And the guys that did the bus, anytime there was a hole or anything, they just kind of put a patch on it, which I think looks kind of cool. I've got 2 360-watt solar panels up there right now, which is enough to charge the bus to do basically anything except run that air conditioner in the summertime, which kind of drains the battery after a while unless I'm plugged in. Probably next spring I'm going to swap out these 2 360s for 3 440s, almost double my solar power, and maybe put some storage on the back. But I'm desperate for storage in this little thing, and maybe put a ladder back there so I can have easy access to it. It's my stovepipe up there for the wood stove inside. This little thing that's sticking out down here, that's the vent for my diesel heater, which is, I got that about a year ago. Talk about a game changer in keeping this thing warm. Well, that's the outside. Let's go inside and see where the magic happens. I am a portrait artist, and I just always, well, as a movie fan, I like Marilyn Monroe. I'm not obsessed with her or anything.
I'm terribly sorry to bother you, but I forgot the key to my front door, so I had to ring your bell.
But as a portrait artist, I just always really thought that was a cool image. And I'm like, there's no place to hang it in this bus. What am I gonna do? And then I saw this method, I think it's called Mod Podge, where you can actually take a poster, you know, you put glue on the back, you put glue on the front, and you just put it on a cabinet door, which I did. And then I said, you know, if I got Marilyn, I can't not have James Dean, so.
Would you like to rent it, or are you more in the mood to buy, dear?
I put him on this little door, which is, I keep electronics in there and the dog bone for the bus. I needed a place to put my computer, and so, but I also wanted to do that industrial vibe thing, so I found these pipe extensions. I said, I'm gonna put those in between. These are just made out of wood. I put a little lip on it. I did get some steel strips that I put on here. I think I just glued them on. These are tacks. They're just tack heads that I was going to use for rivets. But I put my computer there. I got my keyboard up here. I hide my printer right behind that. And when I want to use it, I just pull it out, and there it is. Nice and out of the way, right behind the clock. Again, just more space for books, a lot of the oversized books. My novel that, like I said, this was going to be my little bookstore in here. That was the whole idea, was to promote my novel in this, which I'm still doing a little rewrite on, just because that's a long story unto itself. A lot of these are in flux. This stuff right here is just fun. Hey, there's Christine with her headlights on. Blu-ray player up there. Which leads me to what I watch in here. I actually had a massive Blu-ray library that was never going to fit in here. So I'm like, how can I compress this library? I started designing my own Blu-ray covers with images off the internet for a Spielberg collection or a Hitchcock collection, a John Carpenter collection. I did compress the library, but the guys that helped me with the conversion, we were going to build shelves for it right here, but the guys that did the conversion said, Andy, that's going to be problematic. Instead of doing that, why don't we do this? Just to give you a few more examples, I'm just going to start pulling random stuff off of here. And this was a little Kevin Costner collection I had made, Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Sneak a few in the bag when you get a chance. We swipe enough free shit, we might even pay for this fiasco.
As I said, it's just getting images off the internet, make a banner, get the ping file off the internet, drop it on top, and boom, it looks professional. And you've got 12 films there, not taking up much space. There's one I did recently of Jack Nicholson.
Here's Johnny.
Wait till they get a load of me.
How do you write women so well?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
There's probably between 1,500 and 2,000 A-list titles in here, all in a very small space. Yeah, from David Fincher.
Hold on. That's not even my desk.
My God, I haven't been fucked like that since grade school.
You know, to even older stuff like Billy Wilder. This was just fun.
That's the way you operate, isn't it, baby?
Suppose it is. Is what you've got cooked up for tonight any better?
I'll just pick out like a Robert Zemeckis collection here, if we all know who Robert Zemeckis is.
Whoa, this is heavy. There's that word again, heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull? What?
Again, I was just picking iconic images that might be representative of what's in that collection. And boom. And voila. I know some people might look at this collection and go, wow, Andy, obsessed much?
No way.
Way.
Yeah.
You didn't tell him about my pubes, did you?
No, of course not.
Yeah, I do, but I had fun making every single one of these. Also, if I'm in book writing mode, my brain is occupied and can keep track of all that. If I'm not in book writing mode, this brain has to do something. For a couple of years, I was just having fun compressing my library. I couldn't help it. So I think it's cool and it makes me happy. I'm inspired by it, so I'm passionate about it. And it's all hidden right there behind the TV. I had a job a couple years ago where this kid, 16-year-old kid, kept coming in with stories about what he was learning at Warren Tech as he was studying to be a welder. And I happened to say, could you cut me a Batman logo out of steel? Next day he brings this in. I painted it black, hung it with magnets, put a little light behind it. Boom, you're in the Batcave in here. In fact, there's times I'm watching Tim Burton's 1989 Batman movie, and there's scenes of Bruce Wayne, Batman, in his Batcave on this TV screen, and everything around it so blends in with the movie, you can't tell where Batman stops and my bus begins.
I'm Batman.
That's pretty cool. I dig that. This is my living room / library with my Stephen King collection. That's all of them. I've been collecting those for decades. It's a couch. No, wait. It's a bed. You know what they call it? A couch bed. You know where you get it? Couchbed.com. Tons of storage. Well, tons of storage. I'm always desperate for storage in here, but we've taken advantage of about every square inch that we could. It's not all Stephen King in here. I got Dean Koontz down there, but I've seen vans that had a lot more stuff in their conversion than I have. I mean, like a full kitchen. Oddly enough, I've got a lot of valuable storage space being taken up by books and movies in here, but this is what makes me happy. This is what makes me passionate, so why not? With that brick motif, originally I had bought these sort of three-dimensional panels from Lowe's. They weren't even that original color. They looked like brick with kind of like gray mortar. And the only reason I got it was we were going to put it around the wood stove. That was it. And Ben, the guys that helped me with the conversion, said, Andy, that we don't know if that's going to be heat proof. Let's go with something else. And I had all this material and I kept thinking, man, I wonder what it would look like if I did the walls like that. So I actually painted them all this really bright red color and then took some black acrylic paint, mixed it half and half with water and brushed it on like a black wash and merely wiped it off with a rag. And that's how we got that brick effect. And it looks so nice. I put it damn near everywhere in here. Ben was, when we're trying to figure out what kind of light fixtures to put in here, this steampunk vibe was emerging. We were going to do a little bit of that, but it kept growing. And he's like, well, hell, I've got these old electrical boxes with these old-fashioned, switches. Why don't we just do that? And I thought they came out great. Same with the industrial lights. I actually used to have cage lights there, which looked okay. They never fit quite right, but I had industrial lights in the bathroom here and on the outside of the bus as porch lights, and I liked them so much. I said, you know what? I'm gonna swap out the other 4 lights in here to those industrial lights just because I thought they looked cool. That's actually left over from the kitchen. This was just leftover butcher block material, and it was so nice, we just decided let's make the tabletop out here out of the same material. The wood was so beautiful, I went with a stain, which I still am questioning that. Should I go with something a little more industrial or steampunky? Still might someday, but for now, I just thought it kind of dressed it up a little bit. This cabinet right here under the TV, actually all of the electrical stuff, the inverter and everything, it's all down there, kind of hidden. There's also a 40-gallon water tank down there, water pump, water heaters back there. There's on the 40-gallon water tank, the system about how I check the level in there, all I do is, it's real high tech. I flip on the light and I can see how full that tank is. This is Charlie Chaplin. I think this is an image from the Gold Rush, but he's just a little tramp trying to stay warm by sitting on his wood stove. And oh yeah, there is my wood stove. Real cast iron wood stove. It's called a cubic mini wood stove. I think it's because the big one's 12 by 12 by 12. This one's a little bit smaller, but that thing, I can cook myself out of here with that little wood stove right there. And again, we were going to go with that brick material behind it, but we didn't think it would take the heat, so we just went with steel. Even this ceiling in here, this is not the original ceiling of the bus. When I gutted this thing, I gutted it down to nothing. Took out the windows and the seats and the floors and the walls, and what was in here originally, well, like I said, it was down to nothing. And then Charlie and Ben did, I think there's 3.5 inches of spray foam insulation behind the walls. That's why in the wintertime it stays nice and toasty in here. Originally I was going to use like 3-dimensional tiles, copper or silver, something like that. Kind of like that old TV show, The Wild Wild West, where they would travel around in this train car. And it was beautiful inside that thing, and a very ornate ceiling.
You think it'll come to that? Mr. Barkley, could very easily come to that.
I had gotten those tiles, and Charlie put up the steel because we were going to put those tiles on this steel, but they were so 3-dimensional that the curvature of the roof, they would bend and they would bow, and it just didn't work. But the more we looked at just the steel by itself, I kept going, I think I like this. I think this looks kind of cool in here. And Charlie and Ben agreed, so they just put up the flat iron. And yeah, I guess some people have looked at that and said it looked like a boiler room in here, but as a writer, hey, I don't care. That's a boiler room. That's where all the work takes place anyway. Had some people say, you know, it looks like a train car, or it looks like something out of a movie. That's what I think. Which, hey, go figure, you know. I'm okay with that. The floor, this is just vinyl. It's made to look like wood. Again, if I had known I was going to go so steampunky and industrial, I might have picked up something else. It's probably dirty right now because we've been doing work in here. But yeah, there's a 3/4 inch plywood underneath that. There's insulation under that just to try to keep it warm in here. While this bus stays pretty nice and toasty in the wintertime, sometimes the floor does get a little cold. So it becomes carpet runner season. And I happened to find this online. It was a carpet runner that looks like the carpet from the Overlook Hotel in The Shining. And I'm like, well, I gotta have it. Gotta have it for the bus. So yeah, I think it looks pretty cool in here. I've got like 3 or 4 ways of heating this bus. One is the wood stove, which I cannot rely on solely to heat this bus because I've even got to time my burns in that thing when I do use it, just because you know, I can only burn it like a day or two before I got to empty it out. Which, in the way I empty it out, I had gotten this cool bucket to empty out my ashes. I had nowhere to put this bucket, but I'm like, this thing is so pretty, why don't I just hang it? So that's what I did. I can heat the bus with the wood stove. I've got a space heater sometimes that's not in here right now that I often use. There's also a heater on the air conditioner, but far and away the best heater in this bus is that diesel heater right there. You can't really see it. That's the box that was built around it. Charlie and Ben, when we were going to do this, asked me, Andy, do you want to go with the $400 Chinese knockoff, or do you want to go with the $2,000 German top of the line? I said, let's go with the best. If I'm going to be depending on something to keep me alive, yeah, let's go with the best. So they mounted it to the floor right there and built that little box around it. I painted it black, put the faux rivets on it. To me, it looks like it's supposed to be there. Looks like it's part of the bus. Yeah, and that thing will, I'll set it for 10 hours, let it run all night, and it just keeps me nice and toasty warm in here. Yeah, my kitchen, my little kitchen, but in a 4-window bus, what do you expect? These are the cabinets that made of wood, but I painted them to look like brushed steel as an experiment to see if I could do that on the outside of the bus. You especially see it down there. My pantry / garage, everything's hung with magnets in here. I think I'm living in a magnetic field. Who knows what it's doing to me? Maybe it's extending my life by 20 years. I don't know. But yeah, there's my slightly messy pantry / garage, only because I'm so desperate for storage space in here. We were going for that industrial loft steampunk kind of a look with exposed plumbing over brick. I had looked at Pinterest pictures for about a year when I was planning this bus, and I'd say, oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool, you know, pin all these, and I'd show them to Charlie, and sometimes he thought I was nuts, sometimes he thought it was great, but either way, yeah, we got it all done. I thought it turned out pretty good. The deep sink, if you're going to live in a bus, you need to have a deep sink. Actually, when I drive, everything just goes right in there so it doesn't end up on the floor. A 2-burner cooktop that there's a propane tank under the bus that I filled up 2 years ago, and it still hasn't run out. Sometimes it's a little worrisome, you know, anytime you're cooking with flame inside of a school bus. Well, hell, man, I've got a wood stove in here, which I've lived in here for about 3.5 years, and there's times I still just stand in here and look around and marvel and say, how cool is this? I can't believe it, because it was a dream for so long, and here it is. Not that it never gets stressful. Oh, it gets stressful at times. Yeah, how cool is this just to live in a home on wheels? And I've heard other people say who live a bus life and van life, what's the best thing and what's the worst thing? Oddly enough, I've heard some people say, oh, the best thing about living bus life is that no matter where you go, all your stuff is with you. And the worst thing about bus life, no matter where you go, all your stuff is with you. Anyway. This is the bathroom in here, toilet and a shower. That's a Nature's Head composting toilet. Just put peat moss in the back part of it, and there's the bucket in the front. There's a vent that goes to the outside so it never stinks in here. Again, I'm desperate for places to hang pictures and posters, so wherever I could do it, that's what I did. And some of these are just Star Trek II, Close Encounters. They're just films that I saw as a boy that kind of changed me, made me fall in love with the movies.
There she is. There she is.
The shower, which this is a complete shower in here with, you know, we got, actually even the plumbing in here is like the sink where it's exposed. There's a little closet in here, which only takes about a minute to change it from a closet to a shower. I take this little industrial pipe right here. I bend it out like that, take out my clothes, you know, before you know it, turns into a shower real quick. We could have done a roof raise in here. No, I can stand in here without hitting my head. Also, like I said, to turn this into a closet, I had to get that very funky looking clothes hanger over there, which oddly enough acts as a handhold. You know, if you're in a shower in a bus and it's not exactly level, at least you got something to hang on to in here. We opted not to do a roof raise just because I mean, it's a tight fit to take a shower, but it works. I can clean myself. My hot water heater in here takes 20 minutes to warm up, 25 minutes. And when I do, I just have to make sure that I've got my max air vent on full blast to suck all the steam out of here so I'm not ruining books or anything. It seems to work just fine. That blue rope light that I liked so much that I decided to do the same thing in the bathroom, to wrap around this industrial mirror for a vanity light. And I thought it worked pretty good. I wish it was bigger.
That's what she said. Michael, please. Please.
But like I said, for a little bus, this works just fine. This right here, usually on these little college fridges or truck fridge, it's just a frost maker. However, that thing will keep things frozen in there as long as I, defrost it every now and again. But that's my refrigerator and it does work. Behind Charlie Chaplin, this is just where I keep my bedding. Doesn't take me long to make the bed on the couch bed, but that's where all that goes. Again, Mod Podged that right on the cabinet doors just because there was no place to hang anything. So why not just do that? Why not make it part of the bus? And plus, I thought that was like the perfect image for this little schoolie, little tramp just trying to stay warm. I have not officially named this bus yet. I was going to wait till I got the outside painted or vinyl wrapped. The name that does keep coming back to me is Little Tramp, Thought it would be appropriate. The Max Air, this thing saves me, especially in the summertime, because it keeps this place from turning into an oven. It will completely recirculate the air in here in about a minute. Or if you're smoking anything in here too, it just gets all sucked out right there.
Wow, man. That's some heavy shit, man.
The air conditioner, it's kind of a big unit, but again, in the summertime, it's a lifesaver, especially now that I've got the new inverter and the new lithium battery and I can run without being plugged in. I've only got the two 360-watt solar panels on the roof of the bus right now, which really isn't quite enough to run this on a hot summer day without draining the battery. I think next spring I'm going to change out those two 360s for three 440s, which is almost double. I should be able to run that without being plugged in and without draining the battery. And probably get some more storage on the roof just because I'm desperate for storage in here. Not that I've got a bunch of valuable storage space in here taken up by books and movies, but yeah, a little bit. Like I said before, the whole reason for me getting this bus was a friend it was made to promote my novel, which spent half my life working on that thing. Basically trying to make sense of some of the traumas and stuff I had gone through as a boy. I published it a few years ago, self-published it through Amazon. I've since been questioning a lot of what I wrote. I did a massive revision on it last year with the intention of republishing it, which I am going to do, but about 6 months ago I had to leave the property I'd been at for a few years, and I was out there boondocking for about 9 days. That was pretty scary. So I had to basically in survival mode the past few months. Well, actually, some would argue I've been in survival mode my entire life, but so I've gotten used to it. But no, once I get this figured out and this figured out a little more, I am going to go back and readdress that thing. And it's almost done. The bus is almost done. I'm confident I will be able to support myself once I get all that accomplished. But in the meantime, I'm having to make money. And in the meantime, I bought the bus 5 years ago, gutted it myself, turned it over to Charlie Kern and AKA Chuck Cassady, and Ben Jackson at Chrome Yellow, who did all of the, I gutted it, took out the walls and the seats and the ceiling, and they're the ones who did all the wiring and the plumbing, and most of it in here. I did a lot of the finishing work, sanding, staining, painting, and a lot of the incidental stuff like this. That this kind of created, the bus kind of told us after a while what it wanted to be, which was this industrial steampunk living quarters. I mean, this is a house that fits in a parking space, unbelievably. As cool as it is, and it's different. And I'm desperate for more storage space in here. Anyway, thank you for taking time to letting me give you a tour of my little home here. Hopefully it inspires someone else to say, well, hey, I can do that. Because as they say, you can't take it with you, so why not just do what makes you passionate? You know, live a life of things that make you happy. Yeah, this is Andy's little bus. Anyway, thank you for letting me take you on a tour. We'll see you again. Yeah, my novel, I keep them up here. This is like my little store of my hardback copies of it. And all the books in here are kept in by these pieces of steel, and then they just go up with magnets just like that. Yeah, this thing came out pretty nice. Like I said, it's been half my life on this. I could tell you what, it is available on Amazon right now. I don't stand by this version anymore because I was still even though I was trying to expose some of the toxic things of the Christianity I was raised in, which I said I still kind of hung on to my faith, and this was an attempt to deconstruct a lot of it. I was still too damaged and affected by some of that stuff, and I don't really stand by it anymore. So as I'm trying to figure out my own faith and what I believe, anyway, if you are interested, it is still available on Amazon. This version is not going to be available for much longer, but while it is, you know, if you wanted to grab an early copy, they're still on there. I could tell you what it's about, give you my elevator speech, or I could just read the jacket copy on the back because I think it's a better example of what it is. Why don't I go over here, grab a seat, and yeah, Brooding by Andy Williamson. Nicholas Goodfellow is not the devil, but he knows him. When the high-ranking aristocratic demon first spies his new mission, a 5-year-old orphan named Tyler Davis, he is insulted. But when he sees that his former friend, General Valiant, one of heaven's mightiest warriors, has been charged with the boy's keep, he knows that something is afoot. Tyler knows nothing of these spiritual beings. As the tender-hearted lad grows up under the twisted rule of his dictatorial grandmother, experiencing physical, emotional, and religious abuse, he runs away at the age of 16, collapses on the highway, and is adopted by a benevolent gang of Colorado bikers known as the Brood. Within this family, made up of wounded souls like himself, Tyler first begins to trust, falls in love, and learns some very effective ways of shutting out the past. But running from demons, psychological or otherwise, is a tricky business. Sooner or later, they must be faced. As Tyler does so, he becomes aware of the spiritual battle going on around him, a bloody war for his soul which will leave none of the Brood unchanged. This very human story is about forgiveness, redemption, letting go of the past, and how God can offer beauty for ashes to the most broken-hearted soul. It is a story for the walking wounded. It is a story for us all.